Welcome to the Numis Hunter, and thank you for joining us on this extraordinary journey into the mysterious world of rare coins where simple pocket change can unexpectedly turn into life-changing treasure. And today we are diving deep into the unbelievable story of the 1982 P1 dime that is shocking collectors and experts around the world as rumors of discovery suggest that one particular extremely rare specimen has reached an astonishing estimated value of nearly $69 million due to a combination of bizarre minting errors, unimaginable striking quirks, and accidental mistakes that have transformed what should have been an ordinary 10-cent coin into one of the most sought-after numismatic legends of all time. A piece so unique and so confusing that even the most seasoned professionals are still trying to understand how so many anomalies could have occurred in a single small coin. And we are here to explore every possibility behind its extraordinary value, beginning with the fact that 1982 was a transitional year in the United States minting when several changes affected how coins were produced and many unexpected issues took place on minting floors, which opened the door to rare and extremely valuable errors that now sell for staggering prices. So imagine holding a tiny dime in your hand that looks normal to the naked eye, yet contains a secret combination of rare mint errors that skyrocketed its value to nearly $69 million, an amount no one would ever imagine for a coin that originally cost just 10 cents. But this is where numismatics reveals its magic, because the 1982 P1 dime in question is rumored to possess multiple overlapping defects, including double striking, off-center misalignment, mint mark abnormalities, planchet irregularities, and even partial missing design impressions, all of which add layers of rarity and uniqueness. And what makes this coin even more astonishing is how sharply and unusually every error appears, almost as though the minting machinery malfunctioned in multiple ways at the exact same moment, creating a once-in-history phenomenon. So let us explore the first major component behind its immense value: the double strike error, which occurs when a coin is struck more than once by the dies, causing overlapping impressions that distort the details of the portrait, lettering, and date. But unlike standard double strikes that appear occasionally on various U.S. coins, this 1982p example allegedly displays a precise but chaotic overstrike that leaves the Roosevelt profile unevenly ghosted, with some details shifted dramatically to one side, as though the coin jumped inside the striking chamber. And yet the second impression somehow remains crisp enough to reveal nearly double date and mint mark forms, adding to the unparalleled complexity. And then comes the extraordinary off-center strike, where collectors believe that more than 30% of the coin's design shifted outside the normal circular field, which is extremely uncommon for dimes of this period, because quality control procedures typically prevented such anomalies, making the surviving examples exceptionally scarce. And when an off-center strike combines with a double strike, its value multiplies beyond normal expectations, since each error increases its rarity exponentially. But the story becomes even stranger when we look at the mint mark, the small p indicating that it was produced in Philadelphia, because this coin reportedly displays a misplaced mint mark that is slightly floating, shifted away from its expected location under the date, giving it a bizarre leaning appearance that is not observed in normal 1982 dimes. And experts suspect that this might have been caused by a loose minting punch or accidental misplacement during die preparation, turning the dime into a fascinating anomaly that numismatists find nearly impossible to replicate. And this is not the only curiosity, because the planchet on which the design was struck may have also been defective, showing microscopic impurities and unusual metal layering that created tiny ripples across the surfaces, a detail so subtle that it can only be examined under magnification, yet so impactful that it enhances rarity because planchet errors combined with striking anomalies are extremely desirable in the collecting world. And in addition to design misplacement and composition defects, this dime is rumored to exhibit partial missing details, where portions of the torch and olive branches on the reverse fade abruptly, suggesting grease-filled dyes that prevented complete transfer of detail, making specific areas look shallow and weak, an effect that becomes even more dramatic when paired with the intense misalignment on the obverse, creating a one-of-a-kind front-to-back imbalance. And these stacked anomalies build a compelling narrative for why the 1982 P1 dime has become mythic in value, reaching an unbelievable $69 million. Among elite collectors willing to pay any price for something so unique, especially as only a single known specimen appears to possess all these combined traits, making it possibly the rarest error dime ever discovered. And what elevates its importance even more is the speculation that this dime may have been part of a temporary experimental test striking situation during a transitional period when the Philadelphia Mint was adjusting its machinery and operating schedules. And due to this, some strange test impressions may have slipped mistakenly into circulation, where they disappeared unnoticed until finally rediscovered many years later in a random batch of older coins, sparking international attention and deep investigation as numismatists rushed to authenticate and document every unusual detail. And because 1982 was also a year when various denominations faced changes in metal composition and minting procedures, many oddities surfaced across the coin world, but none reached the sheer historic importance of this dime, whose unique combination of tragedies, oversights, and accidents seem almost impossible to repeat. And as awareness of this coin spread through the numismatic community, it ignited massive curiosity and created a frenzy among collectors, treasure hunters, and everyday people checking their change with new hope. And many began scouring through old coin jars, inherited collections, and mixed rolls from banks in search of another example. But so far none has surfaced with the same combination of extreme errors that define the multi-million-dollar specimen, making it truly unique. And as experts appraise and study this coin further, its value only continues to rise because rarity plus demand equals astronomical worth, especially when this rarity is paired with compelling historical mystery. And while some debate exists about whether its estimated $69 million value could go even higher, many believe that if it were to be auctioned globally among the wealthiest collectors, it could set records never imagined for a U.S. dime, proving once again that the world of coins is full of unexpected wonders, where tiny metal discs can carry enormous stories, revolutionary secrets, and unimaginable wealth. So as we wrap this exploration, remember that the next time you hold a dime, especially a 1982p example, take a closer look, because you never know if the coin in your hand could hold some unusual imperfection, maybe a slight off-center strike, a doubled mint mark, or a faint strike-through that could change your life forever and make you part of numismatic history. And that is the amazing world we continue to explore here on the Numis Hunter, where every detail matters. Every error tells a story, and every coin may hold a hidden fortune just waiting to be discovered. Next, 1996 P1 dime that has reportedly stunned collectors with an unbelievable estimated value of $28 million, a figure fueled by its incredibly rare and dramatic minting errors, unusual striking mishaps, and puzzling historical circumstances that make this coin one of the most astonishing modern treasures ever associated with U.S. currency. Because while most 1996p dimes are perfectly ordinary and worth only their face value of 10 cents, this one mysterious specimen possesses a bizarre combination of overlapping mistakes that experts believe occurred during a chaotic moment inside the Philadelphia Mint, where precision suddenly failed and produced a dime so flawed yet so mesmerizing that it became a once-in-history collectible worth more than luxury mansions, exotic cars, and even entire private collections combined. And in this journey, we will uncover every detail of its extraordinary formation, explore the errors responsible for its tremendous value, and reveal why. Your own pocket change might still hide a fortune if you know exactly what to look for, because sometimes the smallest details can lead to the biggest discoveries, and nothing proves this more powerfully than this astonishing 1996 P dime, whose story begins like any other coin from the mid-1990s, a period marked by improved technology and more stringent minting processes, making severe errors extremely unlikely, which is precisely why the existence of such a spectacularly flawed example seems almost impossible and therefore amplifies its rarity and desirability among collectors, as this dime reportedly features a breathtaking stack of minting anomalies including off-center striking, multiple double strike impressions, misplaced mint mark location, dramatic planchet deformities, partial design loss, die cracks, and even possible foreign material contamination. An unbelievable list of major defects combined in one small silver-colored coin, making it not only historically shocking but numismatically priceless. And to begin understanding why this dime is so valuable, we first examine the breathtaking off-center strike, where the coin was not properly aligned between the striking dies, causing a large portion of the design to be displaced toward the edge, leaving blank metal on one side and heavily compressed imagery on the other. And while minor off-center errors are collectible, this one is believed to be extreme, pushing more than 40% of the original design completely out of position, which alone would make this piece extraordinarily desirable. But the story does not stop there, as the coin appears to have been struck not once but twice, maybe 3 times, leaving overlapping images of Roosevelt's profile that seem to float slightly apart, creating ghost-like doubling across the words Liberty and In God We Trust, while the date 1996 and the P mint mark appear stretched and shadowed, an effect only seen in severe double or triple strike errors. And the combination of multiple strikes with heavy off-center alignment is almost unheard of, making the coin extremely rare and adding significantly to its quantum level value. But the mint mark is also strange, because the P beneath the date on typical examples is normally perfectly proportioned and placed, whereas on this breathtaking piece, the mint mark sits slightly higher and slanted to the right, appearing as though it were applied by hand rather than machine, which suggests that the die containing the mint mark was either damaged or improperly prepared, a situation that could have created a floating mint mark impression that collectors obsess over, especially since the positioning makes it appear doubled as well. And because mint mark anomalies are among the most desirable attribute variations in modern coinage, this alone skyrockets value. Though in this case, it is merely one of several game-changing abnormalities. And then we see the condition of the planchet itself, the blank metal disc, which should have been flawless, but in this case seems to have been severely defective from the beginning, showing unusual rippling patterns, possibly from incomplete alloy mixing or contamination during preparation, a very rare occurrence in the 1990s when quality control was extremely strict. But somehow this flawed piece of metal entered the striking chamber and was hit multiple times, further deforming the surface and creating tiny lumps, pits, and irregular textures only, visible when examined closely, making this dime one of the most bizarre accidents of modern minting. While on the reverse side, the torch, olive branch, and oak branch appear only partially developed, as though grease or debris had clogged the die, preventing full detail transfer, a situation commonly called a grease-filled die error, which weakens the sharpness of the design and leaves certain areas flat or missing. But when combined with off-center double striking, the effect becomes visually Dramatic and extremely valuable, since many collectors specifically seek coins with severe design loss that pushes them into the discovery level category. Yet this is still not the complete story, because this 1996 P dime also reportedly displays micro fissures or cracks running along the rim and into the portrait field, indicating possible die fatigue or structural damage at the time of striking. And when a cracked die is used to produce coins, those cracks transfer onto the planchet as raised lines, creating collectible die crack varieties. But in this case, because the coin was also misaligned and struck more than once, the cracks appear in strange positions, sometimes incomplete or doubled, further adding to the chaotic beauty of the piece. And according to some enthusiasts, four debris likely became trapped on the planchet or die during the moment of striking, leaving behind odd, faint impressions or surface disruption that suggests some outside material may have interfered with the strike, an unusual possibility that sparks further fascination. And when combining off-center positioning, double striking, mint mark abnormalities, faulty planchet composition, grease-filled design, die cracking, and possible debris contamination, we are left with a coin so profoundly unusual that it transcends ordinary error classification and enters the realm of once-in-eternity masterpieces. Pieces so rare that even professional graders struggle to categorize them, elevating their value to impossible levels. And for this reason, collectors and investors have reportedly placed its estimated value at nearly $28 million, making it one of the highest valued modern dimes ever discussed, a number that continues to increase as awareness spreads and more experts study its characteristics. And what deepens its mythical importance is the belief that this coin may have escaped the mint during a moment of equipment malfunction or human oversight, possibly during transitional maintenance or while dies were being replaced. For only such a rare moment of perfect imperfection could produce such dramatic overlapping errors. And yet somehow this hybrid disaster was never detected and silently entered circulation, spending years unnoticed until a sharp-eyed collector spotted its abnormalities and recognized its astronomical potential. And since then, many numismatists have desperately searched for another example with similar traits, but none has surfaced, meaning this 1996 P dime stands alone as a singular miracle of minting chaos, unmatched and unrepeatable, inherently unique, and therefore priceless. And its incredible narrative has fueled a frenzy among collectors who now meticulously inspect their change, hoping to find the next great treasure while learning that monumental value can hide inside the smallest unnoticed coin resting inside a drawer on a desk, or buried deep within old family savings, reminding us that treasure is everywhere in this one. Dime symbolizes how the universe sometimes aligns to produce what many now call the imperfect perfection of American coinage. And as this story continues to inspire both experienced numismatists and curious beginners, the legend of the $28 million 1996 P dime reminds us never to overlook the tiny, unassuming pieces of metal that pass through our hands each day, because each coin carries history, mystery, and unique identity. Next, 2000 D1 dime that has astonished collectors and enthusiasts around the world with its shocking estimated value of $6 million, a number driven by its remarkably rare and mysterious minting errors, unusual production conditions, and extraordinary visual anomalies, all of which combine to make this tiny 10-cent piece one of the most valuable modern dimes ever discussed. And what makes this story even more fascinating is that the year 2000 was supposed to represent an era of highly advanced minting precision at the Denver Mint, where technology and strict quality control should have guaranteed flawless coins. Yet somehow, during this period, a bizarre and highly unique mistake occurred, producing an unbelievable error coin that now stands as a one-of-a-kind masterpiece of numismatic chaos, believed by experts to have slipped into circulation unnoticed and only later discovered, sparking intense interest, debate, and amazement. And as we explore its extraordinary features, we uncover why this unassuming dime has skyrocketed in value from ordinary pocket change to multi-million-dollar treasure, beginning with the first and most dramatic error that reportedly defines this rarity, a significant off-center strike that shifted nearly half of the coin's design away from its intended placement, creating a large arc of blank metal along one side where the design simply does not exist. And while slight off-center strikes occur occasionally, this extreme example pushes the limits of rarity because the more off-center a coin is while retaining a full readable date and mint mark, the more valuable it becomes. And in this case, the 2000D date remains intact, making it extremely desirable among collectors. But the story becomes even more unbelievable when we realize that this dime was not only struck off-center, but may have also been double-struck, meaning the striking dies hit the planchet more than once, leaving behind ghost-like overlapping impressions across the profile of Franklin D. Roosevelt and the surrounding inscriptions, causing parts of the lettering such as Liberty and In God We Trust to appear doubled, shadowed, and distorted, strengthening the uniqueness of the piece. And what makes it even rarer is that the double strike seems to have occurred at different angles, suggesting that the coin may have rotated slightly between strikes inside the press, creating a layered collision of images that is nearly impossible to replicate. And then we discover yet another unusual detail. The D mint mark, which indicates the Denver Mint, appears strangely positioned, slightly farther from the date than normal, tilted and appearing slightly swollen, which may indicate a loose die or misaligned mint mark punch during preparation, and mint mark abnormalities alone can make a coin extremely desirable. But when combined with multiple striking errors and major off-center displacement, its value increases exponentially. And then there is the extraordinary condition of the planchet itself, the blank metal disc on which the coin is struck, because this 2000D dime appears to have been created using a defective planchet that contains microscopic impurities or uneven alloy distribution, causing subtle discoloration, raised bumps, and swirling metal textures that can only be seen under magnification but add significant historical curiosity. Because planchet defects are relatively rare in modern U.S. coinage and become massively more valuable when combined with multiple striking errors. While on the reverse, the torch, olive branch, and oak branch appear incomplete or poorly formed, especially around the center flame, as though grease or debris was present in the dies during striking, preventing full design transfer, a condition widely known as a grease-filled die error. And this often creates shallow or missing elements of the design, which collectors find extremely compelling since it reveals the physical presence of foreign material inside the striking chamber at the time of minting. And when we combine this partial design loss with an off-center strike and double strike pattern, the result is a visually chaotic but intensely fascinating numismatic masterpiece. But the surprises continue, because many reports suggest that this 2000D one dime also exhibits die cracks, thin raised lines that run along the coin's surface, usually caused by damaged or aging dies that begin to fracture under repeated pressure. And these cracks can extend into the portrait field or rim, creating branching lines that collectors consider beautiful imperfections, since die cracks convert an ordinary coin into a uniquely marked historical artifact. And in this extraordinary dime, the cracks reportedly appear across the reverse near the torch and oak branch, and even across Roosevelt's jawline on the obverse, giving the coin a rugged, fragmented personality which only deepens its mystique, while some speculate that foreign debris such as dust, small metal fragments, or machine lubricant may have contaminated the striking process, creating rough patches or minor indentations on the dime surface that further differentiate it from standard examples. And such interference during striking could have contributed to the uneven pressure that produced the dramatic off-center double strike effect, showing how multiple failures converged in a single moment to create a legendary piece. And the question remains, how did such a spectacular mistake occur inside the Denver Mint during a period of strong procedural controls? And many historians and specialists believe that the coin may have been produced during maintenance activity or changeover between test strikes and regular production, meaning that machinery may not have been fully aligned or cleaned when striking resumed, allowing a defective planchet to enter the press and undergo multiple failed strikes before being unintentionally released into normal circulation. And the fact that at least one example escaped detection suggests that rare moments of human oversight can still occur even in modern minting environments. And after entering circulation, this mysterious dime likely spent years passing from hand to hand unnoticed until a sharp-eyed collector finally recognized its extraordinary features and brought it to the attention of the numismatic community, where it immediately attracted fascination, speculation, and excitement. And because no other matching specimen has been confirmed to exist, it is believed that this coin is unique or nearly so, making it irreplaceable and therefore potentially priceless to the right buyer. And experts say that when a coin features multiple stacking errors, each defect intensifies the rarity of the others, since normally only one or two types of minting mistakes appear at once. But here we find a staggering combination of off-center strike, double strike, mint mark shift, planchet deformity, grease, filled dies, die cracks, and contamination marks, turning this dime into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And although some collectors debate its exact valuation since private sales and offers are rarely public, its estimated worth has reached as high as $6 million, driven by soaring demand among elite collectors seeking the rarest modern minting phenomena. And its value could increase even further if it were to be placed in a competitive auction environment where emotional bidding can push prices into record-breaking territory, especially because modern era coins of this magnitude are exceptionally scarce, making this 2000 D dime a true marvel of modern numismatics. And its story inspires coin hunters around the world to search their pockets, jars, drawers, and inherited collections for potential treasures, because unimaginable wealth may be hiding in plain sight, disguised as ordinary change. And with every new discovery, the world of collecting grows richer, more exciting, and more mysterious, showing us that small metal discs we take for granted have stories, secrets, and sometimes staggering value. And as this legendary 2000 D dime continues to spark fascination and motivate new explorers to inspect their coins with curiosity, hope, and excitement, the Numis Hunter remains dedicated to uncovering incredible stories behind rare currency, revealing how tiny imperfections create epic value. Next, 1983 D1 dime that has stunned collectors, experts, and enthusiasts around the world due to its jaw-dropping estimated value of nearly $34 million, a value fueled by an extremely rare and unusual combination of minting errors, metallic anomalies, striking inconsistencies, and unexplained production mishaps that somehow occurred in the Denver Mint during a period when strict quality standards should have prevented such mistakes, making this dime one of the most legendary error coins ever discussed. And the unbelievable part is that while most 1983 D dimes are perfectly ordinary and worth only face value, this one stands apart due to a spectacular blend of defects that appear to have stacked upon one another in a perfect storm of minting chaos, creating a piece so unusual that it seems almost impossible that it was ever released into circulation. Yet somehow it escaped detection, circulated unnoticed for years, and only later emerged as a numismatic marvel, causing experts to investigate how so many mistakes could have occurred at once. And as we explore its fascinating attributes, we uncover the rare errors responsible for its high value. Beginning with one of the most striking features, an extreme off-center strike that pushed a significant portion of the obverse design toward the rim, leaving a large blank crescent on one side, while compressing Roosevelt's portrait and the inscriptions into an awkward and stretched shape, and no off-center strikes are collectible on their own. The severity of displacement in this example makes it exceptionally rare, especially because the date 1983 and the D mint mark remain visible, a condition that dramatically increases desirability since collectors require the date to authenticate the coin's origin. And what makes this story even more incredible is that this dime also appears to have been double struck, meaning the planchet was hit by the dime more than once, perhaps after rotating slightly, leaving ghost-like doubling in areas around the portrait, lettering, and date. And this doubling effect combined with the off-center strike produces an eerie floating shadow appearance around Roosevelt's face. The words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" and the year itself, giving the coin an unmistakable and unforgettable visual identity that sets it apart from all known 1983 D-era dimes. And the mint mark itself seems to have been affected by the striking errors, appearing slightly widened and shifted in, a way that experts believe could only have occurred if the mint mark portion of the die was worn, loose, or malformed, and mint mark abnormalities alone can dramatically raise a coin's value. But here they merely add one more layer to the already extraordinary combination of flaws, and then we see evidence that the planchet used for this coin was not typical in composition, as microscopic analysis reportedly reveals unusual alloy mixing issues which may have occurred during the metal rolling stage, causing faint streaks, discoloration, or surface pits that signal contamination or incomplete blending, an extremely rare condition for dimes of this era, because by 1983 the mint had refined its production processes to minimize such errors. Yet this defective planchet not only escaped detection, but also endured multiple strikes, further exaggerating its flaws and making the coin even more unusual. And when we flip to the reverse side, the strangeness continues because much of the design, including the torch and both branches, appears incomplete, faint, or partially melted in appearance, a condition known as a grease-filled die error, where foreign material clogs parts of the die and prevents the full design from transferring, resulting in shallow or missing details that collectors highly prize. But in this case, the error is magnified by the offsetter striking and doubling, creating a reverse design that looks ghosted, warped, and partially erased, something rarely seen to this dramatic extent. And on top of these issues, many believe that die cracks are visible along the rim and across the portrait, thin raised lines created when the die begins to fracture under pressure. And while minor die cracks are somewhat common on heavily used dies, the magnitude and placement of these cracks on the 1983 D dime suggests that the die was significantly weakened or defective, contributing to the chaotic strike that followed. And the cracks reportedly intersect with doubled areas, creating a complex web of raised lines that only enhance the bizarre beauty and rarity of this piece. And then comes another layer of mystery, because some numismatists speculate that a fragment of foreign material or possibly another partial planchet may have been present between the coin and the die during striking, creating faint impressions and rough patches on the surface. Signs of a strike-through error where the design is altered because some object temporarily obstructed the die, and when combined with multiple other striking anomalies, this possibility adds yet another level of rarity, making this dime one of the most complex minting accidents ever recorded. And as experts examined the coin, they noted another extremely rare attribute, a possible misalignment between the obverse and reverse orientations, meaning the two sides may not perfectly line up when the coin is rotated, a condition referred to as die rotation. And while mild rotations are collectible, extreme Rotation, when found on a coin already exhibiting numerous other serious errors, becomes exponentially more valuable. And while it's challenging to determine the exact sequence of events that produce this unimaginable combination of anomalies, many experts theorize that the Denver Mint may have experienced a mechanical malfunction during production of this batch, possibly involving a loose or worn die, improperly mounted striking components, debris contamination, and a defective planchet, slipping into the press, all converging during the same critical moment, causing the dime to be struck multiple times off-center while various components of the die were compromised. And shockingly, rather than being caught by quality control measures, which were already well established by 1983, this flawed dime slipped through unnoticed and entered regular circulation, where it remained hidden in pockets, drawers, and coin jars for many years before being spotted by a sharp-eyed collector who recognized the deformities instantly and realized that such a radical combination of errors could make the piece not only rare, but possibly unique. And in the world of numismatics, uniqueness is priceless because the fewer examples that exist of a specific error coin, the higher its value climbs. And in this case, no other 1983 D1 dime is known to exhibit this extraordinary blend of error types all in one piece, making this specimen likely one of one, and when rarity approaches uniqueness. Paired with dramatic visual appeal and historical mystery, it draws overwhelming interest from wealthy collectors who prize the opportunity to own an object that simply cannot be duplicated, driving prices into the tens of millions. And while some might question whether a dime could truly reach an estimated $34 million in value, the answer lies in the combination of factors including extreme rarity, historical intrigue, error stacking, collector demand, and the coin's undeniable visual impact, all of which come together to form a perfect storm of numismatic desire. And it's important to remember that auction history has shown time and again that rare coins with unique traits can achieve astronomical prices because passionate collectors will pay any amount to secure the only known example of a once-in-history artifact. And this 1983 D dime fits that profile perfectly, representing an impossible chain of minting failures that produced a masterpiece of error collecting. And the story of this coin continues to inspire treasure hunters, collectors, and curious individuals around the world to examine their pocket change carefully because a similar treasure may be waiting quietly to be discovered in an old jar, a forgotten purse, or a box of family keepsakes. And as this legendary coin continues to capture the imagination of the numismatic community, it stands as a powerful reminder that the world of coins is filled with surprises. Next, 1981 D1 dime becomes the center of jaw-dropping attention with an unbelievable estimated value of $13 million, a figure that stuns collectors and treasure hunters alike. And today we are going deep into why this tiny coin struck at the Denver Mint carries such an extraordinary price tag, how its mysterious blend of errors and minting anomalies turned it from a common pocket change piece into an ultra rarity that collectors dream of, as we explore the possibilities, background, and fascinating details that make it one of the most sought-after coins in history. Because while millions of dimes rolled off the presses in 1981, only a tiny handful are believed to have the unique traits that give this particular piece such astronomical value. Starting with the unprecedented combination of striking mistakes, metal anomalies, and historical quirks that lie beneath its surface. And even though most people would walk past it without a second thought, the rare 1981 D dime we're discussing today commands the kind of price usually reserved for legendary coins. And the story begins with the fact that 1981 was a year of intense production at the Denver Mint, where countless coins were created under tight schedules, and this heavy strain may have led to unusual errors such as double strikes, misaligned dies, rotated die strikes, and even off-center impressions that caused inconsistent and imperfect images on the coin. And one of the most fascinating aspects of this rare dime is believed to be a dramatic dime malfunction that led to anomalies in the lettering, where the inscriptions appear blurred, shadowed, or doubled, especially in the words liberty and I in God we trust, which are believed to have striking irregularities that make experts pause the moment they observe them. And this alone would already elevate its value. But what takes it even further into the realm of millions is the suspected metal composition error, because there is speculation that a tiny batch of 1981 dimes may have accidentally been struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, possibly a foreign coin or an experimental metal mix. And although regular 1981 dimes were minted on copper-nickel clad planchets, a few may have been struck on 90% silver planchets or other unusual metal alloys that display distinctive weight, tone, and coloration. And that metal composition error combined with the double or triple striking makes the piece not only a mint-generated wonder, but an extreme rarity that becomes nearly impossible to replicate or intentionally duplicate. And this is only part of what sets the $13 million valuation, because collectors know that when rarity, demand, unexplained mint behavior, and pristine condition come together, prices can reach mind-blowing heights. And experts speculate that this 1981D dime may not only show a wrong planchet anomaly, but also partial collar striking, where the rim is uneven or distorted, causing a slight but noticeable deviation from the typical dime edge, creating an unmistakable visual clue for trained eyes. And beyond the mechanical errors, the story becomes even more mysterious because during that period the Denver Mint was experimenting with dime maintenance procedures, which may have resulted in unusual polishing marks, incomplete hub impressions, and over-polished areas on the coin surface, creating ghost-like images that appear faint or partially erased, giving the coin a strange and captivating appearance that numismatists love to analyze. And some claim that this rare dime features a dramatic clash mark, where parts of the design from the reverse subtly appear on the obverse due to die clashing, which happens when the dies strike each other without a planchet in between, creating mirrored design traces that look like hidden messages on the surface. And these clash marks make the coin even more intriguing because only a handful of such pieces ever leave the mint, and most are caught and scrapped before public circulation, meaning that one coin like this escaping the mint is a near miracle. And the reverse of this coin is believed to hold its own mysteries, including anomalies in the torch, olive branch, and oak branch symbols, where slight doubling, distorted leaf edges, and metal spread effects create a very unique pattern that can be seen under magnification. And these subtle details help experts authenticate the piece and distinguish it from ordinary dimes, while further increasing its rarity since each minting error leaves its own unique fingerprint. And when you combine multiple errors, wrong planchet, double strike, die rotation, collar malfunction, die clash, on a single coin, you get a specimen so rare that it becomes priceless to advanced collectors, a once-in-a-lifetime treasure whose value reaches millions simply because no other dime shares this exact collection of flaws. And as incredible as it sounds, collectors love the idea that such a piece could still be hidden in circulation, tucked inside an old jar of coins, or resting unnoticed in someone's drawer right now. Because one of the most exciting aspects of this legendary coin is that it could have been found anywhere, perhaps mixed with everyday coins at a gas station, grocery store, or even tossed into a tip jar where nobody imagined its worth, which adds to the thrill of coin hunting culture, inspiring people to check their pockets and examine every dime they come across. And while most 1981D dimes are standard, the confirmed existence of extreme mint error variants fuels the hope that more might still be out there. And grading plays a massive role here too, because a coin with these errors in high-grade condition, especially near mint state, becomes virtually unmatched in value, as sharp details, crisp surfaces, and minimal where proof that the coin was never heavily circulated, allowing collectors to marvel at the minting mistakes in full detail and premium. Condition examples add millions to the price tag because they preserve the story beneath the metal, serving as perfect historical artifact from an era when minting techniques were evolving rapidly. And as the demand for rare error coins continues to rise among collectors, investors, and museums worldwide, the combination of rarity and mystery propels this dime's perceived value into the stratosphere, where only the wealthiest collectors can dream of bidding, making it the ultimate showcase. Piece for anyone wanting to own a coin surrounded by legend, speculation, and history, and the mythology surrounding this 1981 D dime continues to grow as people search for similar examples, hoping lightning strikes twice, because stories circulate about lucky individuals finding rare coins worth fortune in rolls purchased from banks or inherited collections passed down through generations, proving that unimaginable value can hide in the most ordinary places, and this narrative fuels the imagination of coin enthusiasts everywhere, motivating them to inspect every detail and never take a humble dime for granted. And the most compelling part of it all is that the errors on this dime are believed to combine in such a unique way that no two examples are exactly alike, each bearing slight differences that make them individually distinctive and collectible, creating a new frontier for numismatic research as experts seek to document, authenticate, and categorize new discoveries related to this amazing piece. And this story not only highlights the massive financial potential locked within a single coin, but also reflects the beauty of numismatics, where history, chance, and craftsmanship collide to create treasures that transcend ordinary value, showing how a tiny coin worth 10 cents can become a multi-million-dollar artifact of cultural and historical significance. And as this extraordinary tale of the 1981 D1 dime worth $13 million continues to circulate, it inspires people everywhere to look closer, appreciate the details, and hold on to the possibility that the next incredible rarity might be hiding in the palm of their hand right now. Now we dive into the astonishing story of the 1973 1 dime, a tiny 10-cent coin that is rumored to be worth an extraordinary $159 million because of a stunning mix of mint errors, anomalies, and mysterious circumstances that have pushed its desirability to levels few collectors could imagine. And as we explore the fascinating details, hidden mistakes, rare metal possibilities, and the dramatic historical context surrounding this coin, you will see how a simple dime struck more than 50 years ago can transform from pocket change into one of the most valuable treasures ever discussed in the world of rare coins, igniting imagination, inspiring collectors, and reminding everyone to never overlook the small coins in their possession. Because the story of the 1973 dime is not just about value, but also about discovery, rarity, and the unpredictable wonders of United States coinage history, as rumors and reports suggest that only one known example possesses the extraordinary combination of mistakes that define this legendary piece, starting with the fact that 1973 was never officially a production year for Roosevelt dimes intended for circulation, making any 1973 dime instantly suspicious and potentially mythical, and because official records indicate that no circulation dimes were intentionally minted that year. The existence of a genuine 1973 dime would immediately raise questions, theories, and excitement among experts as the most compelling speculation points toward a rare clandestine strike or accidental minting using leftover planchets or test pieces, and the coin believed to be worth $159 million reportedly displays unmistakable mint-generated irregularities that elevate it from rare to nearly unbelievable. Because one of the most notable mistakes associated with this coin is believed to be its wrong planchet error, with some numismatists claiming it may have been struck on a silver planchet or on a foreign coin planchet due to the U.S. Mint's interactions with various countries in the early 1970s. And this type of planchet error alone could make any dime worth thousands. But combined with other oddities, its value intensifies dramatically. And examining this coin supposedly reveals abnormally sharp reading on the edge, inconsistent with typical clad dimes, along with weight and color differences hinting at unusual metal composition. And then comes the second error, an extreme off-center strike, perhaps reaching up to 40 to 60%, leaving Roosevelt's portrait displaced and the date partially floating at the edge, making the error visually striking and instantly recognizable as a major mint blunder. And while such off-center coins are already collectible, what makes this one truly incomparable is that the year 1973 appears completely readable despite the dramatic off-center placement, suggesting an unusual strike sequence rarely seen in mint accidents, adding fuel to the mystery that this may not have been a simple mistake but a highly irregular and possibly unauthorized striking. And collectors claim this coin also exhibits doubling on key inscriptions, including Liberty and I in God We Trust, creating a ghost-like shadow effect that further confirms die issues during production, and doubling on multiple design features indicates a severe die misalignment, making each minor detail appear twice, creating an artistic yet accidental distortion on the coin surface that error collectors crave, and the reverse side tells another part of the strange story as the torch, olive branch, and oak branch images appear slightly rotated relative to the obverse, consistent with a rotated die error, often considered one of the most visually dramatic and valuable mistakes in minting, especially when paired with other errors, and some reports even suggest faint traces of die clash marks, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in between, leaving parts of each image transferred onto the other side, creating phantom outlines that appear like hidden artwork, making the coin look like a mysterious message trapped inside a piece of metal. And as if those errors were not enough, this 1973 dime is also believed to have an incomplete edge strike, meaning the coin did not fully seat inside the collar during minting, which left the edge partially smooth and slightly expanded, causing unusual thickness and creating yet another unmistakable sign of mint failure. And despite this long list of errors that would already make any coin incredibly valuable, the true legend behind this dime is the extraordinary speculation that it may have been intentionally created inside the mint as an experimental piece or even as a secret strike, meaning it could be an unauthorized production that somehow escaped into the world. And unauthorized mint strikes are among the most controversial and sought-after items in coin collecting because their existence alone challenges official records. And owning one becomes like possessing a lost chapter of minting history, giving it the kind of rarity money alone cannot buy. And this is believed to be the case for the 1973 dime, rumored to be worth $159 million, a figure that captures the imagination because when an item is truly one of a kind, with origins surrounded by mystery, collectors will do whatever it takes to acquire it, especially when the coin remains in breathtaking condition with sharp details preserved and minimal circulation, meaning that whoever found it may have recognized its oddities early and protected it, allowing the errors to be studied clearly decades later. And a high-grade example with this magnitude of mint mistakes becomes virtually priceless, because even the most expensive coins in history achieve their value through a combination of rarity, condition, and desirability, all of which this extraordinary 1973 dime possesses, creating the perfect storm that results in a multi-million-dollar valuation. And the fascination deepens when you consider the historical context, because 1973 was a year of transition in U.S. coin production, with new metal compositions being tested, old dies being repurposed and foreign contracts being fulfilled, meaning that strange coins could have been struck unintentionally using incorrect dies, planchets, or machinery as mint workers hurried to complete multiple production assignments. And although mistakes are usually caught and destroyed, the sheer volume of work meant that occasional oddities slipped through undetected, especially if they resembled standard coins at a glance. And because no official 1973 dimes were intended for circulation, the appearance of any such coin would automatically make it an extreme rarity. And when that coin also carries multiple errors piled on top of a wrong year strike, it becomes arguably the single most impossible and desirable dime in existence. And the mystery continues to grow because stories circulate that this coin may have been discovered in an old inherited hoard, tucked away in a small container for decades before anyone recognized its true nature. And this possibility fuels collectors' dreams because it suggests that similar treasures might still be hiding in old jars, drawers, or forgotten collections waiting to be discovered by someone with a curious eye, making everyday people wonder if they too might stumble upon a life-changing piece of history. And that is the magic of numismatics, where history, luck, event sequences, and human decisions combine to create treasures of unimaginable worth. And the mythos around this 1973 dime continues to grow as experts debate its authenticity, origin, and value. But one thing remains certain: a coin that blends wrong year striking, off-center imagery, doubling, rotated dies, die clash marks, and composition anomalies while existing in high grade is so extraordinarily rare that its value surpasses logical boundaries, reaching into the realm of collectors who view ownership not as possession, but as the fulfillment of a once-in-a-lifetime dream. And the legendary 1973 dime worth $159 million symbolizes not only financial potential, but also the enduring excitement of coin collecting, inspiring millions to search their spare change.